So you're going to Everest Base Camp and you're trying to figure out what to bring. I went sort of spring 2015. We made it up to about 15,000 feet at Dingboche, and the Nepal earthquake happened, and because of that we weren't able to go any higher. Base camp was closed, everything above us was closed, and so we ended up going back down. So that's the only caveat to this gear review, but overall I don't think that's a problem because I've worn all this stuff in much colder weather. I wore it down to -5 degrees in Yellowstone National Park in January. So I think it's fine. The only thing I didn't really test would be my sleeping bag. It was 32 degrees in our room in Dingboche. I was perfectly fine there. We heard in Lobuche up above us, it was 15 degrees in the room, and Gorak Shep, I'm not sure. So that would be the only thing I've not really tested in cold weather. Sleeping bags are very individualistic though. I'm a warm sleeper. People that are cold sleepers are going to need warmer sleeping bags. So the sleeping bag, it's a personal thing anyway. So that's the only thing. Otherwise, I think everything I talk about here will be perfectly fine for the entire trek. Don't think it will be a problem. I'm going to link, by the way, in the video description, I'll put a link to the article on my website where I go over a lot of this same stuff. One of the things when I was looking at trying to figure out what to get is that I read a bunch of online blogs and stuff, and they would say things like, bring 5 shirts, bring a soft shell, bring 6 pairs of socks, but they didn't really list specific items, and I would think, well, how heavy of a soft shell? Does it need to be waterproof? And the few that had actually these specific items that they bring I thought were extra helpful. So I'll talk about those here, and then in the article I have links to either Amazon or REI or some places where you can see those specific items because I think that is a little bit more helpful. Trying to figure out this is going to be kind of a long video, but I think if you're going it will be helpful because aside from just listing the items, I'm also going to talk about the pros and cons and some things that I thought worked well with that item or some things that I would have changed into a different item or a different type of that item. So I think that'll be helpful as well. And it's going to be a long video, but if you're going, I think it'll be helpful. The packing can be daunting because you're allowed 15 kilograms or 32 pounds for that flight into and out of Lukla. And so you need to really kind of pare your stuff down. And I'm anal enough that before I went, I made a spreadsheet of everything I was doing with the weights to see how close I was to my weight limit. And it kind of helped keep track of where I was. I didn't know how the weighing process in and out of Lukla went. It was amazingly unscientific. The way it worked, when we were leaving Kathmandu, our group was 20 people. They took our day packs, they took maybe 8 or 10 of them at a time, they piled them all onto a big scale, they got the aggregate weight and then did that again, and it was, I thought it was going to be, bring you up, here's your day pack, here's your duffel, oh, you're 15 ounces over, you got to leave something. But no, it was very unscientific as far as that goes. Now that's not to say that you can go over on weight, because on our way back when we were leaving Lukla at the last minute, they pulled 6 of our duffel bags off the plane, they didn't make it back to Kathmandu until that afternoon. So they still weigh everything, but it's not as sort of anal of weighing it per person as I thought it might be. My stuff, I think I'm probably on the higher end of the packing, as in more stuff. Some people can be more minimalistic, so it really depends where you are there. Some people get by with much less weight. I brought a little bit extra stuff. Kind of depends on how much like clean clothes you want versus how much you don't mind. One of our guys in ER Doc wore the same pair of underwear the entire time, didn't take a shower the entire time. Where you can wear everything, one pair of everything the entire time and be fine. But if you want to be a little bit cleaner, it's nice to have clean underwear, clean socks, I think. So I tend to bring a little bit more, but was still under the weight limit. So let's get into it. To start out with, you need to get to Kathmandu. And to get there, I brought, you need to bring some suitcases for the flight there. I brought a 22-inch carry-on and a backpack. And the carry-on, you want to bring your hiking boots with you. You don't want to check them under the plane because if your bag gets lost, you don't want to have to buy new hiking boots in Kathmandu and break them in on an 80-mile trek. So I put them in here. I put clothes in here for the couple of days it was taking to get to Kathmandu, and it worked pretty well. I brought this with me on the plane except for checking it on the small flight to Chicago. And then I also brought my Osprey Nebula. I've reviewed this. This is my favorite travel backpack. And I brought a backpack for traveling, and then I brought a day pack for the hike because travel backpacks don't do hiking well and hiking backpacks don't do travel well. You can't put a laptop in a good way in a hiking day pack and vice versa. So I brought this. You leave some stuff in the hotel in Kathmandu. We stayed at the Yak and Yeti Hotel and things were very safe. I put this in here, I locked it, just get some TSA locks. I actually even left my passport here because we didn't need it on the trek, and everything was fine. We got back and everything was there. I put my hiking day pack in my duffel bag for the way over there, so it all worked out pretty well. So people had different size luggage for getting there. Bring big luggage, bring small luggage. This worked well enough for getting there for a couple of days in Kathmandu. So once you set off on the trek, first and foremost, you need a duffel bag to carry your stuff. There's a bunch of variations of duffel bags. I brought the Patagonia 120 liter black hole duffel. I'd say the most popular bag on our trip were the North Face Base Camp duffels, the 150 liter size. My roommate had the 90 liter size of that bag, and he thought it was a little bit too small. This I thought was a great size. In the morning, my packing, I would essentially just kind of throw everything in here. It was pretty quick and easy. And my roommate that had the 90 liter one, he really had to kind of move things around. He felt like it was just a little bit too small, and he had to really kind of move things to make it fit. I thought that the 150 liters just seemed a little bit too large, and again, because I was trying to be miserly with the weight, 120 liters, it weighed a little bit less than the North Face duffel. I think 3 or 4 of us, including our guide, had this bag. It works well. It has the straps you can use as a backpack. That's how we carried it around the airport. It's listed as not being lockable, but that's not the case. All you need to do is take the zippers, get one of these TSA locks, and you can loop this through the 2 zippers and then lock it. That's what I did for the flights over there. This is what I would do every day when the porters were carrying our bags, and it worked pretty well. It worked fine for that, so I recommend that. Next thing you need is a day pack. There are a ton of different backpack options out there, and if you look through my channel, I reviewed a lot of them. You can check out my Everest Base Camp preparation video. You can check out all my backpack reviews, but I went through a ton of packs. I've seen people recommend day packs ranging from 15 liters up to 40 to 50 liters in size. This is a Osprey Stratos 34 liter backpack. It's the small medium size, so this is actually a 32 liter pack, and I thought it was essentially a perfect size. There were some people on our trek that had 40 plus liter bags, and they always had extra space up here on top. You know, if you just have one backpack, if you have one trekking, hiking backpack, and it's a 40 plus liter bag, that's fine if you don't want to buy a smaller one. But I think this was a great size. If you're very miserly with the amount of stuff you have, I guess you could get by with a smaller one, but I wouldn't have wanted to go much smaller than this. Again, just depending on how much you bring. Some stuff that I had with this bag, some of the accessories. On the front here, I have this Peak Design camera capture clip. And the way that works is I had my camera, and it has this little clip on here, and it clips right into there. So you would be wearing the bag, and you would have nice quick access to your camera. It just clips on right off, it locks in there, and this worked great. A lot of people were impressed by this and how well it worked. I've used these on a bunch of trips. So that was very nice. And then the other thing, a water bladder. I used a Source water bladder. These are, I think, from Israel, and it worked pretty well. It's a 2 liter bladder. It has the winter tubing, so it's a little bit insulated. If you're going to use this out in cold weather, after you drink from it, blow the water out of it so that it doesn't freeze in the tubing. The other thing that I liked about this is it has a cover for the mouthpiece here, because sometimes this will start dangling, or if you take a break and you take your backpack off on the trail and this touches the ground is obviously very dirty there. You don't want to get all of that bacteria in your mouth. Also, it's very dusty, so keeping this covered while you're out on the trail is very nice. Some people didn't have this. Some people had the ones where you just bite on and squeeze. It was all out in the open. I like the fact that I had this covered, and occasionally if it came down and started dangling on the ground, it wasn't a big deal. Also, where it will come out of the pack, you can get a magnetic attachment for it on here, and it would just clip right onto here, so I always had quick and easy access to it. I thought it worked out well, having both a Nalgene bottle and the water bladder. I would fill up the Nalgene bottle out of whatever water faucet at the tea house. I would put my stereo pin in it and treat the water, and then I would pour it into here. I also would take the water in my Nalgene bottle and would add some Tang to it. I bought some Tang, a couple flavors, because after you're drinking a couple liters of water a day, the plain water, it gets a little bit boring, so adding a little bit of flavor can sort of spice it up a little bit. So a Nalgene bottle and a 2 liter water bladder worked plenty well for me throughout the entire trek. The other thing that I appreciated with this backpack is that it has the trampoline style here, and you're going to get sweaty. You're hiking for 5-6 hours a day sometimes, and your back is going to get sweaty. So I appreciated that this kept the backpack off my back for all that time. It helps your back sweat just a little bit less. You're going to be wearing the same clothes. You're not going to be showering as much. So I like the trampoline style of it. Something else to consider with the backpack. Some other accessories to consider with the bag. In your duffel bag, you're going to want to organize things. Maybe a bag for your shirts, a bag for your pants. Some people, you can use stuff sacks. What I decided to use were Ziploc bags. I got some 5-gallon Ziploc bags, and I would put my pants in one, my shirts in one. Here are the bags. The other nice thing about these, again, trying to save weight as much as I could. These are super lightweight. They're disposable. They're clear. You can see through them. So they worked out pretty well. I also got some 10-gallon zippered freezer bags, and I think I put my underwear and my socks in these. So the Ziploc bags worked out very well, but some people had stuff sacks, and that worked well for them as well. Next item is a sleeping bag. Sleeping bags, you can spend as much or as little as you want on them. It seems like you can spend $5,000 and get a 1-ounce -20 sleeping bag. Obviously an exaggeration, but the more you spend, the lighter of a warmer bag you can get. I went with a Montbell Down Hugger #1. This bag is comfort rated to 24 degrees Fahrenheit. For me, it was perfectly fine. I'm a warm sleeper. I did also, along with it, I bought a Rab silk sleeping bag liner. Never had to use it, never took it out of the bag because I was plenty warm. The thing I liked about the Montbell bag is that it's sort of a mummy shaped, but because the stitching goes at a spiral, it actually stretches a little bit down at the bottom. So it worked out well. It was comfortable. And as you can see, it's small, packs down nice and small and pretty lightweight. Most of the tea houses also have blankets. Only one tea house had blankets where you had to pay $1 for them. Otherwise, they all had blankets. The blankets, the cleanliness of them, not too sure that how often they get washed, if ever. But you pull it up over your sleeping bag. It's another layer. It worked pretty well to keep you warm. So you can scrimp a little bit on the warmth of the sleeping bag. You can, I hear, rent sleeping bags in Kathmandu. I wanted to bring my own. I knew how clean it was. I knew it was new. I knew where it had been. So another thought there. Let's move into clothes. Start with the upper body. When you're down low, it tends to be shorts and t-shirts weather. So 2 short sleeve synthetic t-shirts. You can, by the way, buy almost anything in either Kathmandu or Namche Bazaar. You're going to find some real stuff and some fake stuff. If you find a $30 Arc'teryx shirt, you can be pretty well sure that it's fake. And the shop owners were pretty forthcoming when I found that $30 Arc'teryx shirt. I said, "Is this real?" And they said, "Oh no, it's not real." So some of the stuff is pretty obvious. I actually got this shirt there. It's a Mammoth shirt. The prices are about the same that you would pay for them back home. But 2 short sleeve t-shirts for down low where it's warm, synthetic, so that if you're going to wash them, you're going to sweat, they'll dry fast. Something else I found useful was, this is an outdoor research. It's a long sleeve, very thin, kind of a wind shirt. I bought this a couple years back. And down low where it's warm, but kind of windy, this worked well, where you just need just a little bit of insulation, but not much at all. It's super lightweight, packs real thin, so I throw it in my day pack a couple days. You can see how small it is, super lightweight. And then you want some merino wool shirts. Long sleeve merino wool. Merino wool is great because it doesn't smell. You can wear it days in a row. It amazed me how well it would do not smelling. A note on the merino wool, either icebreaker or smart wool, they typically come apparently in a body fit, as a tight fitting and a loose fit. I didn't realize this until I got to Namche and was talking to a shop owner. I apparently brought the tight fitting ones. Had I had it to do over again, I would have brought the loose fitting ones because you're wearing these multiple days in a row without washing them. And the loose fitting ones are not going to be, kind of stuck to your armpits and your chest. You're going to be sweating. So I would have brought the looser fitting ones had I realized there were different fits. I then brought a third one that I kept clean for wearing at night to bed. You could, in theory, get by with 1 shirt. I actually might have brought 1 more just because I like the clean stuff, but I did perfectly fine with 2 of them and 1 for at night. You can wash clothes, probably a couple places on the trek. In Namche, the hotel we stayed at, they offered laundry for 80 cents a piece, which is a steal compared to prices in American hotels. So I washed clothes in Namche for cheap on the way up and the way down. I got all my clothes kind of fresh and clean there. But 2 long sleeve merino wool shirts for the days and a set of 1 to wear at night. On top of that, you need some jackets. In the base, the bottom of my day pack here, I always kept some jacket stuff. Either a sweater or a vest. This is an REI co-op down vest. It packs down nice and small. When I got cooler but not too cold, I would wear this by itself. And then when I would get even colder, I would wear that, followed by a soft shell. I'll get to this in a minute. And then a hard shell. This is a Patagonia M10 jacket. I spent a little bit more on this, but it's a really nice jacket. It packs down, as you can see, into its pocket, and it weighs 8 ounces. Again, going for the weight savings. And then on the surface, this jacket I wore all over the place. This is a Patagonia Nano Air. I wore this thing almost every day up higher. I wore it all day. I wore it to dinner. I wore it to bed a couple times because it was chilly. This jacket is awesome. It stretches a little bit, it breathes just the right amount, but it's just warm enough. It didn't really get to smelling. So check one of these out, the price is coming down on them. So I'd wear that, followed by one of these. Worked out pretty well. You're going to want some gloves when you get up higher. Some base gloves, either some liner gloves, and then some mittens. I brought some shell mittens. Of note, if you're taking Diamox, this is just something that kind of freaked me out the one day. Diamox will take you to make your fingers tingle. There's the theory, you take it in the morning and your fingers will tingle during your first cup of coffee. The one day we were out hiking, I thought I was getting frostbite, despite the fact that I had a couple pairs of gloves on, and then I realized it was the Diamox making my fingers tingle. You bring a couple pairs once you're up high. Even when you're super cold, you'll get exercising enough after you've been trekking for a while. You get to the point where you even want to take your gloves off. So a couple sets of gloves. Make sure they're waterproof, because if it starts raining or snowing, you're going to want the waterproof gloves. Hats. I brought a couple different hat options. I brought a wool beanie. This is a smart wool. I wore this a pretty good amount. Sometimes I would wear this to bed. Sometimes I'd wear it to breakfast or dinner. It's just thin enough. Just cover your head. Keeps it warm. I also brought, I got a lot of use out of this. This is a fleece headband. I would wear this. I could wear it by itself, or what I would also do sometimes is if it was windy and just a little bit chilly but not really cold, I would wear this, and then I would take my sun hat. This is an outdoor research hat, and I would wear this over it. That way my ears stayed warm, sun was off my face, the wind protected from my head, but it would still breathe if it was not actually that cold. I did this a bunch of times. Worked pretty well. So the headband, and then the sun hat, outdoor research hat. It's crushable, it's lightweight, it has some vents. I wore this a ton as well. Some places it gets windy, so I would make sure you get one that has a chin strap so that your hat doesn't blow off the mountain. And then once you get up higher, it's going to get even colder, so you need a heavier hat. There's a ton of choices for this. I got a Sherpa Style Hat. This one is, I think, by Everest design. Nice and warm. I wore this to bed a couple times, even when it started getting colder. In the middle of the night, I'd get hot, I'd take it off, but this hat's very warm. Especially you do this, you put up the hood from your hard shell if you need to, and I was plenty warm. The other thing that I brought but didn't use is a buff. You can bring one of these, everyone recommends it. One guy on our trip wore his everywhere. He had it up over his nose, over his ears. You can wear this as something around your neck, you can wear it as a hat, you can wear it as a bandana. There's a ton of uses for these. This is a merino wool one. They come in a bunch of fabrics, but you can use this. The merino wool won't smell. Personally myself, I didn't use mine, but I brought it. Probably a good idea to bring because you may use it. The other thing you can use it is once you start getting up there, it gets pretty dusty and you can get the kumbu cough as it was, which is thought to be from all the dry dust. So you can use this as a little bit of a mask. The other thing, if you get that cough, some hard candy will often help with it. And then lastly, upper body, some sunglasses. A lot of people recommend 2 pairs of sunglasses. I brought a pair of Oakley sunglasses that I wore all the time. And then I also brought a pair of Julbo Glacier glasses. I wore these in Yellowstone. They worked well. Unfortunately, we never got up high enough on Everest to need them. These are photochromic, and I was looking forward to wearing them, but that little earthquake thing happened. But some people recommend bringing 2 pairs in case you lose one breaks, something like that, because the sun gets bright, and you definitely want to have some form of sunglasses. You could bring just the Glacier glasses. One guy brought some Glacier glasses, and that's all he wore the whole time. So take your pick. Next, lower body. The single most important piece of equipment you will take with you are your boots. Make sure they are well broken in. We had one guy that actually wore sandals the entire time. Don't know how he did it, but He put some shoes on a couple times. A couple people wore tennis shoes. The guides and porters wore some form of tennis shoes, but there are so many places where you can twist your ankle on rocks. I think boots are much better. Make sure they're well broken in. These are Salomon 4D GTXs. There's the GTX 2s out now that I'll put the link up. If you have these, you don't need to upgrade. They're really the same. I think 3 or 4 of us, also including our guide, had these. I've had to take these on a bunch of hikes, and they're great. Again, make sure you put them in your carry-on in case your bag gets lost. Next, some lightweight shoes, because after you've been hiking all day, you want to get your boots off. Your feet, comfortable as your boots may be, will be refreshed by wearing something lightweight. These are some Patagonia, I think sort of rockish climbing shoes. A little bit, maybe kind of. But these weigh, I think, 8 ounces. Nice and lightweight. I wore these on the plane on the way there. I would wear these around town in Kathmandu. I wore them around some of the tea houses around town and some of the towns we stayed in. They work well. Some lightweight, athletic-ish kind of shoes. And then lastly, some sandals. These are Croc sandals. You can bring flip-flops, you can bring whatever. These are great for wearing in the shower if you decide or get to take a shower. Or I also kept these next to my bed at night because if you get up to go to the bathroom, if the bathroom is either across the hall or heaven forbid outside, it's nice to have something quick and easy to slip on. So I kept these next to my bed, slip these on. If you take your Diamox before you go to bed, you're probably going to get up and pee a couple times. So these were nice, lightweight, couple ounces. Next, socks. I brought, I think, probably 7 pairs of socks. Some wool trekking socks. Lightweight or medium weight to heavyweight. The other thing you can do is you can bring some sock liners. A couple things that these do for you. They help with a little bit of the friction between your feet and your socks, and then also they keep your socks a little bit fresher. These are nice and lightweight, and you can get an extra day out of your socks because you wear these, and the next day you can take these off and wear just your socks, and your socks are, you know, sort of like a new pair of socks to some degree. And as you can see, I kept my socks in a Ziploc bag here. Worked out well. Pants. I brought 2 merino wool sets of long underwear, a smart wool, and an icebreaker. These work pretty well when it starts getting up higher and up colder. My basic hiking trekking pants. The Cool Liberator convertible. I have a ton of these pants. They work so well. I don't know, 4 or 5 pairs. I've done a review of these by themselves you can check out. But these are great for several reasons. They're obviously a long pair of pants. They zip off to make them into shorts. These were the shorts that I would wear when it was warmer. And then also if it gets kind of warm but not so warm that you're ready to put the shorts on, these pants vent in several ways. You can unzip the bottom. There's a side thing down here that you would think is a pocket, but it's actually a vent. And then I would unzip the back of the knee. And so you would get this ventilation going up here, out the back of your knee, up the side. And it really worked pretty well when it was warm enough that you wanted some air movement, but not so warm that you want to take your pants off. And then also these unzip, you can fit them over your boots. So I brought 2 pairs of these. These worked really well. And they have plenty of pockets. I also, for the heck of it, I had the pair of North Face softshell pants that I brought. I threw those in. I wore them a couple days when it was up higher and I knew it wasn't getting any warmer, or any warmer. And then the last thing, a pair of fleece pants. I would keep these, I would wear them at night in the tea houses, I'd wear them to bed. If I took a shower, I'd throw them on. I would keep these and one of the merino wool tops clean to wear just at night to bed around the tea house. They were nice for the tea house. It gets cold at night. Once the stove goes out, there's no more heat. And then I would take one of these big Ziploc bags, and this is where I kept all my pants. One for pants, one for shirts. And then I'd zip it up, and that way I could see what I had. Underwear. I thought underwear is pretty small, it's lightweight, and it's nice to have clean underwear. There were days where I put my underwear on in the morning and didn't take them off till the next night. Several of the underwear I brought was wool, also not going to smell. It's also synthetic. There was one place up in Dingboche, it was a little bit warmer, so we were there for a couple days. We actually washed clothes and we were able to hang dry. It wasn't great, but it freshened them up a little bit. But some people, the one guy wore the same pair of underwear the entire trip. But I think clean underwear, it's a nice thing to have. Let's look at some miscellaneous items. A camp towel. This is a camp towel from REI. There's a bunch of different types of towels you can get. If you decide or are fortunate enough to take a shower, it's nice to have a camp towel that dries well. I think one tea house offered towels, the one in Namche provided towels. Otherwise, you're on your own with the towels. So a camp towel works well if you're gonna take a shower or even just for washing yourself at night. If for some reason you can't take a shower, don't want to take a shower, having some body wipes is nice. You can get just baby wipes, but they make specifically body wipes. There's a bunch of different kinds. These are shower pill body wipes. They're certainly not like taking a shower, despite what the Amazon reviews would lead you to believe. You can get the important parts clean, and I was, I guess, cleaner after using it than I was before using it, so I brought some of those. You need to treat your water. I brought a SteriPen. The only downside to the SteriPen is that it's battery powered, and once you get up high, the cold weather will eat at the battery. But this worked really well. You put this in your water, you turn it on, you stir it around for 90 seconds, and your water is immediately ready to drink. You need a backup though. I had some, I think, some chloride pills. You put those in, you wait 30 minutes, wasn't a big deal. But SteriPen worked great, and make sure you have a backup. Speaking of medications, I brought my little medication pack. I have an article on my website just about this. You can have a look at that. But my daily regimen was I would take vitamins in the morning. I would usually take a Motrin 800 milligram tablet morning and evening, and then Diamox 125 milligrams twice a day. Definitely helped with the acclimatization. Also some earplugs. The tea houses are very thin walled, plywood walled. You can hear stuff next door. The one guy had a roommate that snored horribly, so he used some earplugs. And the flight into and out of Lukla, they'll give you some cotton balls you can put in your ears. They don't work all that well. I brought some earplugs on the plane. Worked well enough. Suntan lotion. Make sure you have suntan lotion. Once you start getting up higher, the sun is much more penetrating, and if you don't use this, you will get burned. There was the one day I forgot to put this on. We had done a little 3-hour acclimatization hike over to Ferice, where the aid clinic was, the day after the earthquake, and I forgot to put this on, and I got a burn on my face. My nose was burnt, my face was burnt. Make sure you put anything exposed, covered with suntan lotion. Electronics. Phone is a good idea to bring. Most of the tea houses will have Wi-Fi for a couple dollars. The speed of it can vary from good to not so good. But I used it for Wi-Fi. Also used it for an alarm clock in the morning. They would say breakfast at 7, and I would use this. You can use a watch. I would bring a watch. An ABC watch, altitude barometer, compass is handy because you can get a little bit of an idea of how high you are. You just need to make sure you calibrate the watch with the altitude you're at. I brought my Casio Protract. I've got a video review on this as well you can check out. The other nice thing with bringing your phone is that you can have a little bit of music. Bring a wired headset, and some of the days on the trail you get hiking for 5 to 6 hours, and it was nice to have a little bit of a distraction with music. Maybe you get separated from everyone else, you're not talking as much, and it's nice to have the music. Some people say enjoy being out in nature. You're going to have plenty of time. There's no shortage of the enjoying being in nature. So it was nice to have, I have Spotify on here, I downloaded some music, and it was nice to have some music to listen to for some of the hiking time. Wallets, I had my slim fold Softshell wallet as this is my normal wallet, and then I have a little REI travel wallet. You want to take about 500 rupees with you ballpark, for some for tipping the porters and guides, and then some for just miscellaneous spending. So I would carry some money in here, the rest of the money I would stick in here, and I would keep this in my day pack, which is really never far from you. I never felt unsafe. I never felt like I was going to be robbed. But this was nice because all of your money is not going to fit in your regular wallet. A journal if you want. If you're the journaling type, I brought this so I could keep track of everything that was happening for writing some articles and these videos. Chargers for whatever electronics you're bringing for your phone. Cameras, I brought 2 cameras, chargers for the cameras. I brought a Sony a6000, a mirrorless camera with a 16-70 lens, and a Canon SX 700HS. This in theory zooms to 600 or 700 millimeters. It's not that sharp at that, but it's a good zoom, and this is what I did all of my video work with. I would carry it around. Thought about bringing a GoPro, but the battery life on GoPro is pretty dismal, so these are my 2 cameras. I would keep my small one in the waist pocket on my day pack, and this one I would have clamped to the on that Peak Design clip on my chest, so they're both readily accessible. electronic chargers for both of them. An IFAK, I have a video and an article just on this. The only thing I used out of my IFAK was moleskin for my toes that got a little bit raw on some of the hikes. Our guide had pretty extensive medical pack with him as well, with drugs. Some cough drops are nice. If you happen to get the Kumbu cough, having something to suck on to keep your throat kind of moist will be handy, and sometimes you just want something to suck on, to something for some flavor. Flashlights, my most used flashlight the entire trek was my little ThruNite TI3, little single AAA battery light. This has a half lumen output. This was perfect for getting up at night to go to the bathroom. It's obviously very small. I always kept it next to my bed. If need be, it gets brighter. I had my EagleTac D25C. I, for the most part, didn't use this much. And I had a headlamp that I don't know where it is at the moment. It's here somewhere, that I used a couple times, but I would bring one of those as well. Knives, I brought a Spyderco Delica. I really hardly use this, but it's nice, lightweight, small knife. My Leatherman Juice S2, I use this a fair amount actually. I used the pliers a few times on it, and also there are scissors on here that I used to cut the moleskin. Someone else borrowed this and used it as well, so those were pretty useful. Toilet paper. Toilet paper is for sale everywhere, but in no bathrooms anywhere. So most people brought a roll. The first week you're there, your intestines are likely not going to be very happy. You're in Nepal and they're going to rebel, so you need the toilet paper. Trick with it, take the cardboard out of the middle. You can fold it down a little bit smaller and bring a Ziploc bag or some type of bag to keep this in. Also, I bring this with you on the trail because the bathrooms on the trail are definitely not going to have toilet paper, so it's nice to bring with you. You can buy it in the tea houses generally for $2 to $4. I would get the $4 roll. It's definitely nicer, definitely worth it. Hand sanitizer. I brought 3 bottles of this. I only ended up using 1. Hand sanitizer was on every table in every tea house, so that was generally not a problem. There's plenty of it around, but I would definitely bring it with you because out on the trail, you're going to want to use it. And finding running water to wash your hands was kind of a delicacy because there just wasn't much of that anywhere. Trekking poles. This is a personal preference, but I think you do much better as a quadruped than a biped. So there's a ton of brands of trekking poles. These are Lecky trekking poles. I just put the rubber tips on them for the flight over there so they wouldn't poke through my duffel bag that I had checked because I lost the tips that came on. Otherwise, I just had the carbide tips on them. These worked well. I think one person didn't have trekking poles. A few people had one pole, but almost all of us had trekking poles. And lastly, a few things that I brought with me that I didn't use at all. I brought a little travel tripod. This was light enough. I kept it in one of the water bottle pockets on my day pack. I used it one night to try and take some pictures of Ama de Blanc, but otherwise really didn't need this at all. One of the couples had a huge tripod that they brought, and after the first day, they stopped carrying it. The camera gear you bring, it's very much a personal preference of how much gear do you want to bring, how nice do you want the photos to be, and how much of your weight allowance do you want to sacrifice to camera gear. There were several people with full frame cameras with 2 or 3 lenses. Again, just a personal preference. I thought I did pretty well with my little mirrorless camera. Another thing I brought was a SteriPen pre-filter. This goes over the top of an Nalgene bottle with the idea that you could filter your water into it, but I never needed this because all the water you get is usually out of some type of faucet in a tea house, so it's not like you're getting water out of the creek. So I brought this, never used it. I brought some saline nasal spray. I heard that your nose gets pretty dry. One guy did have some saline, almost like moisture wipey kind of stuff that he brought. I actually used that a fair amount. This would be something to consider bringing. I brought it, I didn't end up using it. The buff, as I mentioned, several people use theirs a lot. I didn't end up using mine because I used my other hat type things in place of this, but probably still something that's worth bringing. The other thing I forgot to mention for the lower body, in the bottom of my day pack here, I always kept my outerwear type stuff. I kept my vest, my hard shell, and a pair of rain pants. These are REI rain pants. They stow into their own little pocket here. A couple people wore these on one of the days where it snowed and rained a little bit. Once you get up higher, it starts getting colder. These would also be nice, kind of like wearing your hard shell jacket. Personally, I never had the need to wear these. I've seen some people say you don't need to bring them. I think it's a good idea to bring. I just didn't end up using mine. Tissues are a nice thing to bring because your nose may run on the trail. Some other things, gaiters. I thought about bringing gaiters. One guy brought gaiters. He wore them a couple times and he would take them off and the inside of the gaiters would just be filled with sweat. Up higher, maybe they could be useful for keeping your leg warm, but if you're going to bring them just to keep your legs clean, I think they're not necessary. They're going to be unnecessarily hot. It's another thing to bring. They're kind of a pain to get on and off. I think you can do without gaiters. Binoculars. One guy brought a pair of binoculars. He carried them the first day, never carried them again. Said he wouldn't have brought them. Again, it's a personal preference if you really use your binoculars, but overall, probably not that necessary. Pee bottle. Pee bottle in the middle of the night, you wake up. Sometimes you don't want to get out of your sleeping bag. If it's 15 to 30 degrees in your room, it's not that motivating to get out and go to the bathroom. So you can have a pee bottle that you can go in your sleeping bag. I had one. I never used it. I just tucked it and got out of my sleeping bag and walked over to the bathroom. But a pee bottle would be something to consider. Otherwise, I think that's about it. Hopefully the video was useful for you. Like I said, check out the link to the article on my website where I cover all this stuff as well and have links so you can check out the specific items. But if you're going to base camp, good luck. Hopefully you won't have an earthquake like I did. It is a great trip. It's an amazing trip. Experience of a lifetime. Best of luck with it.